Welcome to the Bridge of Two podcast.
Watching that in theaters was peak. Especially the that last lightsaber battle of Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is just, that's peak Star Wars right there. They don't make them like they used to.
I mean, I used to rewatch that.
Just that scene
on VHS. At one time I actually memorized Qui-Gon's moves.
Oh, that's
in
awesome.
that fight, and I would do it with the scene.
That's amazing.
And so every time I see that scene, you know, I don't know. It's a very,
you're like Jason
comfortable. I'm comforted, but I'm discomforted at the same time. Yeah, like Jason Bourne.
Every time it happens, you just wake up and start whacking that thing. Your kids are just got bruises everywhere because you just accidentally
just robotically just start. But I get stabbed by a Phantom Maul every time.
Mm.
No,
that's unfortunate. Back when lightsabers killed you.
Yeah. That's all I was thinking. As Maul is falling in pieces, I'm thinking, it's not fair.
It's not fair.
He survives and Qui-Gon dies.
But he used his hate.
Yeah.
His anger.
Right.
Suffering.
Kenobi.
To give him power.
Well,
same with Whitwer. He's the GOAT.
Whitwer, yeah.
We need more of him in all of Star Wars.
We do.
So good.
Well,
anyway.
We're back.
Welcome back, everybody.
If you can't tell, on the Bridge of Two podcast. How's life going?
Obviously great, because I just watched not just, but like we watched Phantom Menace in the theaters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, life couldn't get better.
It was a very good May the 4th week. So
I also watched A New Hope at work. We had some spare time, so I threw A New Hope on it and showed a friend who's never seen Star Wars before.
Oh, really? Started them down that long path.
Yeah. And this became a debate between another friend of mine. Should you, when you show someone new Star Wars, should you do 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Because they're of the belief that you should do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you don't, the person's going to be confused. My thing is, everyone watched it 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, because that's literally how it came out.
Right, exactly.
To which you responded, no, I didn't. I was like, this is because you're 20, and you weren't alive when the originals came out. Neither was I, but...
Yeah, I'm always a fan of like publication or release order, because it just gets made differently, you know, because they're answering questions in episode 1 and 2 and 3 that they were raising, that were like left out there in the original trilogy. So
yeah, I saw something on Reddit. It was like, because I was looking it up because I was just curious what people thought. I'm a big 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3 guy.
Yeah, that's what I do with my kids.
Just because I think I love the prequels to death, but arguably the 4, 5, 6 are better movies. The action and the special effects are better in 1, 2, 3, but 4, 5, 6 arguably have a better story.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier for people to grasp, especially if you start at 1, because 1 is very hard to grasp if you don't know what's going on. And that's because each movie that was made in publication order builds on each other. And so that means episode 1 doesn't take a lot of time to explain things, because they already expect you to know what a Jedi is. They expect you to know kind of to an extent what the Republic is.
True.
You know, because it's expected you to have seen 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
That you should know what the Force is, because Obi-Wan explained it in episode 4, and Yoda did in 5, and 6.
True. Yeah, because you start, in episode 1, you're not starting with a boy on a farm who hasn't seen the galaxy. You're starting with 2 seasoned Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I agree with you there.
And then once again, if you don't understand what all this is, like the prequels are leading to, which is the Empire, because when you start, you give this, and it even says this, the Chancellor of the Republic, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought there's an Empire.
Right. Well,
so you won't appreciate the politics of episode 1 as much if you don't understand what this is all leading to. It's when you understand everything all together as a whole which is why now as an adult I've really come to appreciate the politics of the prequels, especially episode 1.
I like too that 4, 5, and 6 are so much about the redemption of Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker, And if you're introduced to 1, 2, and 3, I just like starting people out, like my kids, like starting them out with this seemingly irredeemable character getting redeemed, and then they get to go back and watch like how did they even get to that
How
point.
it got there.
You know,
I think too, if you start at 1, 2, 3, you don't get the impact of like Vader saying, "No, I'm your father," or the impact of Yoda being an actual Jedi instead of the silly little hermit that he pretends to be initially, or you don't get the impact of Leia and Luke being siblings. You don't get that because obviously if you watch 1, 2, 3, you'll know that Luke and Leia are twins and that they're Anakin's kids because all that happens in episode 3.
right?
And that's what I explained over in our group chat because we were talking about it, and we mentioned that she started at 4, and my friend Logan was just like, "What? You can't do that." And I was just like, "I will." There are reasons why I think you should watch it this way that I can't explain now because she hasn't watched the other movies. Although she did just watch episode 5, so she liked it. She liked Star Wars enough. She's going to keep going. She wants to watch more.
Nice.
So she watched episode 5 with some friends. We're going to watch episode 6 next time we work together, and it's not busy.
Nice.
But
what else you been up to?
X-Files. I have delved into the world of X-Files for the first time. They don't make shows like that anymore. They don't make like the older shows like X-Files, like the 90s shows, X-Files, Stargate SG-1, even some of the old Star Treks. That's like peak television right there, at least in my opinion. Like those are good. X-Files though, I've known about it because my dad was a huge fan of X-Files. I never watched it because I, one, wasn't into like supernatural alien type stuff, and then 2, it kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, well.
But at work, actually the same friend that I showed Star Wars to was watching it on her iPad. And so, we were both, and I just happened to be up there, so I was watching it too, and I got like super invested.
Okay.
So now I went back and started season 1. And now I'm in season 3.
Nice.
And so I've been loving it, and it has made me distrust the government even more than I already did. So I've really been enjoying watching that. I've been like, that's like a show. I haven't like, I have a hard time picking up on shows and watching them, like either binging them or just watching them and staying with them.
Yeah.
Just because I'm more of a reader or like playing, I just like to play games. And so a lot of times I would prefer to like do that instead of sit down and watch a TV show. But X-Files has definitely piqued my attention enough to where I will sit down and watch it. But even if I don't feel bad if I throw it on while I'm playing a game, which I've been doing. Or at work, I'll throw it on. So very, very much been enjoying that. It is, like you mentioned earlier, it's like we have another podcast we both like called Haunted Cosmos, which deals with supernatural type stuff, but from a Christian perspective. It's basically just an episode of Haunted Cosmos every episode.
Right.
What I never knew initially before watching it is like, I thought like that was one of the shows where they mentioned, or like supernatural things were like, that was like Mulder's perspective, but like it never was like overtly like said or like proven that it was supernatural stuff. But like every episode, it's just like, it just goes full force. Like, oh no, they're aliens and they're right. This is them right here. Like Mulder's always basically proven true. Which I really like. I like they just go out of the gate and be like, no, this is legit.
Right, every single episode, basically.
Instead of it being like ambiguous. The only thing that I find annoying about it is that Scully is still skeptical even in season 3. Like, girl, you have seen aliens. You have seen the supernatural. You have seen these things. Stop it. Stop trying to prove scientifically how this is possible. Just let it be possible.
What's your... I watched it when I was in high school a lot. And I mean, I don't think I've seen every episode probably, but I've seen most of them. And so I have like a lot of bits and pieces, like memories and stuff. Do you have like a favorite episode you've seen so far?
I think it might have been season finale of season 1. Because I like when we get into the backstory episodes, like the stuff that deal with like Mulder's past.
My sister and stuff.
But I think the season finale season 1 really got me because like for the whole season it is a lot of like every episode kind of stands on their own.
Right.
But then season 1, like you realize that there's like a lot more going on. Like there's a lot more like government involvement and like the government's basically lying to everybody, and Mulder it turns it from just a supernatural show or alien show to Mulder and Scully are out there for the truth, and even if that's against the government,
truth is out there.
And so I think that's what really drew me in. So I think that might be up there. I don't really have a favorite episode, but that would be up there. I like the ones that deal with the fact that like the government knows and is lying. And
so by now you've seen, I don't remember their names, but like the tech guys, the like IT,
the silly tech guys, the ones who are alien believers and all that. Yeah. What is it? Oh, what's his name? The one's got like a huge crush on Scully.
Okay.
Can't remember his name.
I just remember an episode, but I don't know if you've seen it, where they're like, there's like a virtual reality element to it. It might be a later season. Anyway.
Yeah. So I've very much been lapping that up.
Have you seen the Moth one? Yeah.
I think so.
An adolescent guy who like.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen anything about a moth. I saw the flatworm one, where it's this one's where he's like part flatworm in the water.
Oh,
and that's how they like get pregnant. Like flatworms are hermaphroditic. In case you didn't know.
Nice.
It has to do with like that, and like they like bite people and plant their babies into the humans, and then it's disgusting. Oh, it was one of those episodes that was really gross.
Yeah, there's those. There's
definitely some episodes. There are episodes too where I'm like, I am not going to watch this at 2 a.m. This is. Whew.
That's when I usually would watch them. Is like not that late, but I was old enough that I had my own room and I had TV in my room, and my parents didn't tell me like you have to go to bed.
Yeah,
I would just lay in bed, and I had X-Files on. Like 2 episodes would come on at like 10 o'clock, 10 to 11 or something. And I would usually fall asleep terrified.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's usually my prime time is like 2, 3 a.m. So that's when if I'm going to watch TV,
right?
I'll throw it on there. But there's some episodes, like some like demon worship episodes, like cultist episodes. I'm like, this is... Some of the alien episodes are freaking creepy.
Yeah.
So I just like, But yeah, so I've been watching that. And then the only really other thing, I mean, I don't know what I mentioned that I finished off on last episode, but I finished Dark Souls 3.
Okay.
And I'm like halfway through Elden Ring now.
I think you were on Dark Souls 2.
So I finished Dark Souls 2.
I don't think you were on 3 at that point.
And I finished 3. And now I'm on Elden Ring.
Nice.
Elden Ring is by far the best. Dark Souls 3 is really fun. I like the gameplay of Dark Souls 3 a lot. But Elden Ring is just the gameplay of Dark Souls 3, but better. And the open world of Elden Ring. Honestly, I think you should try Elden Ring at one point. Next time it's on sale, you need to pick it up. It is really good.
It's one of those games I feel like I have to... If I get it, though, I have to commit to...
Learning it?
Yeah, like learning what you have to do as far as like a build. But maybe not.
Yes and no. I mean, I can just help you with that.
Yeah.
It really just goes on for your first playthrough, you really just got to think like, do you want to be fast or do you want to be slow? Or do you want to use magic? That's what it comes down to. If you want to be
I'll
fast,
probably end up doing like something ranged.
If you want to do fast, then you do like dex or like range, like a bow. That would be dex.
That's probably what I'll do.
So if you want slow but strong, strength.
Yeah.
And then magic is obviously like your interfaith or something like that. And then there's like mixtures between, and then really honestly it comes down to like the best. And I don't know much about builds because I don't ever look it up because I like to go kind of blind through most of these games for the first time through. But like a lot of the weapons that you pick up and can get, like you gotta think about what type of weapon you would want to use. Do you want to use a great sword? Do you want to use an ultra great sword? Do you want to use a hammer, a spear,
ultra?
Do you want to like a fists? What do you want to use? And then from there, the weapons have you have to have a certain amount of stats to use them. So like an ultra great sword might need 40 strength and 12 dex.
They have machine guns.
They don't have machine guns. Fantasy.
I'm out.
Oh, come on. You should play I don't remember the name of the game. Wow. It's just Dark Souls, but with guns.
Really?
Kind of. It's not exactly that. It's still different, but it's the same type of gameplay with guns. Oh, man, what is it called?
Gunborn.
Outsiders? No. Outrider? No.
Gun Souls.
Gun Souls, for sure. But no, each weapon has its own stats that you need to be able to use it, and then each weapon has a scaling. So like a weapon, like an ultra, like a great axe might scale B with strength. So the more strength you have, the stronger your attack will be that way. So that kind of helps you to build a build. Basically, what I'd like to do is, okay, what type of weapon do you want to use? And then from there, okay, well, what is that? Either find that weapon or find a weapon like that. What does it scale with? Oh, it scales with Dex. So any other of these will probably scale with Dex. So that's what I end up doing to start. So it's not as hard as you think. And obviously you need vitality and endurance to live. But Elden Ring is really good because it has that open world aspect to it, to where you can kind of like, there are certain areas that are obviously going to be locked by bosses.
Yeah.
Like main bosses that you need to beat. But that being said, there's a whole open world area aspect to it, and there's like smaller dungeons with easier enemies and easier bosses to fight to get basically more souls or runes in that game to level up. And so you feel comfortable enough to fight the bosses that you need to.
Right.
Which is different than like Dark Souls, where Dark Souls is like, it's very linear, and like once you get to a boss, you're at that boss. You can go back and fight old enemies, but then you're just grinding, you know.
It was like the progression system is a little more friendly.
Yeah, there's like technically over like 200 bosses in the game, but that's like between like people, like bosses that are like basically just like enemies. There's like different levels to bosses that I was looking at the other day. Yeah, I would recommend it. That's really good. The world is very fun to just roam around and get lost in. The story is helped by George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, like the original pitch or something.
And it's such a pleasant game to look at, and the boss fights are so cool and like fun. And it's a good game. Definitely would recommend it. I think it's a good starting off point for any Souls player too. If anyone wants to get into those games.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to like lose,
right?
Die a lot,
because you have to lose. You have to learn the bosses, basically what their attack patterns are and stuff. Yeah, and
that was the thing that really pushed me to getting good at those games or figuring out was realizing like, let's just be willing to die and just learn the bosses. And you know what? If you die 15 times and you're starting to get angry, then shut the game off and play something else for a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah. Yeah, I do want to say I did start the next book in the Red Rising trilogy.
Okay,
and it's phenomenal. Really good book. What have you been up to? I've been talking for a lot.
Well, besides taking the kids, so we did take the kids to episode 1, the older kids, Ellie and Jack.
I'm glad you got to go do that.
And I was almost didn't, and then saw that there were still show times, and my wife was really encouraging me to do it, so she stayed with the baby, the 3-year-old baby. And then it was fun. We got some popcorn and got into the theater, and the kids thought that Anakin was Luke. You know, like they just had trouble adjusting, like understanding the time frame.
Yeah, you know? Which is
so I kept pointing things out, like that's young Obi-Wan, you know, that's Luke's dad, that's Darth Vader. Yeah. That's Luke's mom, you know, and they loved seeing Yoda walking around and
of course
talking and stuff. And then,
gosh, imagine if they had to watch it with the puppet.
Yeah, I kind of missed the puppet a little bit.
Who was it? I think it was Alex. Alex was saying that he thinks they should have kept the puppet.
Yeah, it was just George Lucas being George Lucas.
I like the CGI Yoda.
Well, I mean, it does for continuity. It's like, why not for continuity? You know. But the one thing I'll say that I already said to you, but I'll say it, is that George Lucas knows what he's doing with making things and like making characters that kids will like, because Ellie's favorite character was Jar Jar, and Jack's favorite character was Anakin.
That's really funny.
You know, and those are the two characters that people just couldn't stand in a lot of ways in those movies, or in that movie. And so I just was like, there you go. I
stand by that Jar Jar is not a horrible character. I get that he's a little annoying, but I partly think that's the point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was 8 when I saw it, so I was saying, like, same age as Ellie was when she saw it. So he doesn't grate on me as much.
I'm also a firm Darth Jar Jar believer, so
I looked into that theory after you mentioned it. I was
Doesn't
like,
it make
what
sense?
Is it?
Did you read into it?
The theory, it seems like the theory is that originally the intention was
To be that Jar Jar
but then Jar Jar
was so hated.
/ the kids loved him so much that
yes.
that they decided to not do that. And that's why he's like a senator in the... Well, is he a senator? He's
I think he's basically a senator.
Like a junior senator or something.
Yeah.
In the second movie. And he has all these pivotal moments like, throughout the series that he influences.
In like the first movie, there's like so many different things. Like if you pay attention, and that's the
whole thing I was thinking about the whole time is he fails up the entire
time. Not only that, but like there's one clip that the people will talk about of just like when he's getting the general position from Boss Nass, he's waving his hand.
I watched that though. It's just like he's gesturing. Like,
well, you think maybe, but sometimes that looks like that's what they're gesturing. Like I don't know. Credits will do fine.
But he doesn't. It's not that.
But it's the same. It's the same concept.
I don't know.
I don't know. And he does. He fails up every time.
It is funny though how he.
Also, it rhymes, man. It rhymes. He was the Yoda.
Oh, because of that, yeah. Because Yoda was the crazy,
silly, goofy character.
And that's what the guy I watched a video. I read a Reddit post or something. They were saying basically it worked in the original Star Wars because you find out in the same movie,
yes,
that Yoda is actually this seasoned wise Jedi. But in this movie, it's like Lucas was going to set up the reveal in the second movie, but then if he was going to do it that way, he should have.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know if there's anything actually like as far as like there's not like some lost script or something, right?
No, I don't think so. But then also like you got to think. Because remember George Lucas, once again, he said it. He did say, and he meant, like the movies are supposed to rhyme. The trilogy is supposed to rhyme each other, mirror each other. Yeah. What? What are you gonna say?
Nothing.
They rhyme.
I know.
No, but so if you take that to whatever, episode 2 with like Count Dooku being the bad guy kind of doesn't make sense. Like it almost seems like Count Dooku and then General Grievous are kind of like shoehorned in. And that's why they seem like they have such a little character development in the movies. Like Count Dooku is like there for like 5 minutes and he dies in the next movie within like 20 minutes.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing with the original trilogy is you've had that big time jump between, well, both movies, both sequel. I mean, like the original trilogy is all happening within the span of a couple of years or something, so it's all very immediate. But in the prequel trilogy, you go from episode 1, 10 years later, episode 2. I don't think it's another 10 years. I think it's like 5 years or something. 3 years.
The Clone Wars.
So several other years later.
3 years. So
3 years later, episode 3. So all the time skipping, I think, makes the continuity. It makes it harder for them to feel like a tight trilogy. That they're like individual movies, telling an overarching story, but they have to have their own individual like pacing and stuff. I don't know.
That being said, I don't actually.
Yes, you do.
I partly do, but I also think that the movies are fantastic how they're made.
Yeah.
And I think
I love episode 1, and it was a blast watching it with the kids. And Ellie comforted me when Qui-Gon died, so that was nice.
Oh,
but yeah. But the other thing I'm just going to mention is, well, there's actually a lot of Lord of the Rings. Kind of a lot of Lord of the Rings news. So like Rings of Power, Amazon's Lord of the Rings show just dropped their season 2 teaser.
Very nice. We just watched that. I just watched it like 5 minutes ago. Well, however long we've been recording for.
And yep, more than 5 minutes.
I have no concept of time.
So that dropped, but then also they just announced, or Warner Brothers announced that they're going to be making more Lord of the Rings movies, and they announced like a Hunt for Gollum movie directed by Andy Serkis. Peter Jackson is like over like producing or whatever.
Consulting.
I think Peter Jackson's going to be doing a movie too. I don't know what it is going to be, but the Hunt for Gollum will be like it's a thing in the books whenever Gandalf starts. I think it's after, because in the book there's like a 9-year period from the time that the Bilbo leaves to the time that Frodo actually leaves the Shire, and in that time Gandalf was trying to track down Gollum to basically get to him before he gave up some information about where the ring was, because he knew that the Hobbit had it. And so there's like a whole series of unfortunate events, them trying to get Gollum. At one point they lose him, and so supposedly that's what they're going to be making, which will end up being like a young Aragorn movie because Aragorn was involved. Anyway, I don't know, I always have mixed feelings when a new Lord of the Rings thing gets announced, especially when it feels like sort of like a cash grab,
So that's, I love Lord of the Rings. Actually, I plan on rewatching the trilogy here soon. Yeah, because it's coming to that point. But
it's come to that.
That being said, I am always worried when they announce things like that, because I'm worried it's going to go the same route as Star Wars did,
where they just
overdo it, and not only that, but they shoehorn in all their political agendas.
Yeah,
and I like Andy Serkis and I like Peter Jackson. I don't think that they would want to do that. But the problem is that in this landscape, in this time that we're in, it's almost impossible.
Yeah,
because every production, everyone in Hollywood, all that stuff, like the people who are way above are going to push this stuff down and make it, this needs to be in here.
Right.
And it ruins stories. No matter how you feel on whichever viewpoint you agree or disagree with, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It makes bad stories because you're no longer taking the story into account. You're taking this agenda. You're
checking boxes.
And that's what happened to Star Wars. That's why people don't like the Force Awakens. Why they don't like a lot of their new shows. Because they've given up storytelling for an agenda. Not only that, though, but it's oversaturating the market with it.
Yeah.
We need new IPs. We somewhere in Hollywood or whatever is going on, we have given up on trying to make new IPs and instead are going back to old things because they can get money off of it.
Right.
These big companies, these big IPs, they can get, like Lord of the Rings, like Star Wars, like
well, the people buy these IPs, like Warner Brothers. They own the film rights. They have to use them as well. Like that's the thing that happened with Sony. That's why Sony keeps making Spider-Man movies.
And I get that, But at the same time, it's just like maybe it's just like, and I know unfortunately it's all about money. They all want money.
But that is, I'm just agreeing with you. That is the unfortunate reality. That's kind of this where I kind of have, I kind of wince a little bit, like. It could still be a really good movie. It could still be really entertaining. They could do a great job. Like getting Andy Serkis and Peter Jackson, attaching them is a great 100%. Movie. It makes me feel a lot better than
100%.
Some random person. But just knowing that what the corporate decision making that's behind it most likely is just hard to fully feel good about it, because there's a purity to like, we're making the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that story, the story of how those movies even got made, is like a David versus Goliath story. And The Hobbit is kind of, those movies were, not as good as the Lord of the Rings movies, but still really good, but also kind of inevitable, that they would go and make The Hobbit, make the prequel, but then when you're like, what else can we do? Like, what other stories that we kind of have the rights to that we can do? We definitely don't have a full book's worth of material, so they have to like come up with stuff,
I hope they're good, because I like Lord of the Rings a lot.
Yeah.
And I would like to know more and learn more. But it's also an issue with, and Star Wars, it happened with Star Wars, and have a lot of shows where they go. And it's why I'm okay with Rings of Power being made. Is Rings of Power is in a different time.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place in the Second Age instead of the Third, right?
Right. Yep. Second Age.
So basically, obviously there's some of the same characters, but they're basically new characters that we're not explored too much in the movies.
Yeah. It's a different story.
Completely different story. But if you take stuff like like young Aragorn and Gandalf,
Young
like
Gollum.
and Gollum,
Young Gollum.
young Gollum. For example, if young Aragorn's in it, Viggo Mortensen's not can't.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to get a new actor. They can't do. They're not gonna be. I don't even think he would. He probably wouldn't even play in the movie.
I bet Ian McKellen will still be alive.
Ian McKellen will still be alive.
Ian McKellen will still show up.
And he'll still show up for sure, 100%.
Not that I'm not sure they'll do
But
that.
he's also an old character. Like, he can be played, they don't have to de-age him at all.
Right.
Whereas you would have to de-age Viggo Mortensen or have a new actor, And Star Wars did it with Han Solo, where they tried with a new actor. And he wasn't a bad actor. And he did a good job as Han Solo in that movie. But it wasn't Harrison Ford.
It's not the same, yeah.
And so you kind of already are setting yourself up for failure there, and it makes it hard to watch those movies. I just think if we're going to use the same IP, at least tell a different story. I like Star Wars. If they would have done so much better if they just didn't do the sequels, they did a movie that was like Star Wars universe, different characters, different story.
Yeah.
It would have, in like a different time, it would have been way better. And it probably wouldn't have failed as much as it did. Because you took what people love and you made your own changes to it.
Right.
But that being said, I do hope I didn't know that they're making movies. I heard like a hint of it, or I saw a clip of it somewhere.
Yeah, it got announced like a week or two before the Rings of Power teaser dropped, which I don't know. Like if there was anything to that. Like I don't know if Rings of Power was like, oh, let's drop our teaser, because of that. Because like people are talking about Lord of the Rings. Bernard Hill also just passed away, so
yeah. But rest in peace.
Yeah,
very unfortunate.
Another good reason to watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Anyway, that being said, I'm still interested, excited. It's fun for Lord of the Rings to be talked about, relevant, things like that. And
you know what else is coming out this year? Lord of the Rings.
War of the Rohirrim.
Mm-hmm.
The anime, yeah, which I'm totally.
I think December. I think we looked that up because Alex and I were talking about it.
Maybe
we looked it up.
Yeah, I think it is definitely this year though. But yeah. So the Rings of Power teaser, really excited.
I thought it looked good.
Really good. It looks to me like they're going to reveal, like we're going to see that there were things going on in season 1 that people were like upset about, that they had a plan about, and that they were actually they weren't just breaking lore. I think it looks good. I'm looking forward to it. It's in August, so
yeah, I'll be excited. We'll obviously talk about
3 months. Yeah,
maybe we'll do another Aaron and Stefan to talk about
Bridge of 4.
Bring the 4 back. Bring the Bridge of 4 back.
People they want more bridge.
They yearn for the kids yearn for the bridge.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll be back next time. This has been the Bridge of Two podcast. A far, far away bridge. Boop, 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 boop. Da, 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 da. La, 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 la.
Dun, 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 dun.
I hate sand. It's coarse and rough. It gets everywhere.
Best pickup line ever right there.
But what did he say was soft and smooth?
Her skin.
Oh, okay.
Not like you.
Not like you. Okay. I was like, did he actually...
Soft and smooth. Okay. Honestly, he's got Riz. That's smooth. Just like her, apparently.